Howdy, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Through the Gears. We roll into the heartland at Kansas Speedway. I'm Wyatt Watson, bringing you the best bets for the NASCAR Cup Series all season long as we roll into Kansas Speedway. Today, me and Tino Pattigno analyze what our best picks are going into this weekend at the most exciting racetrack in the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, in my humble opinion. Be sure to comment your picks and interact with each other in the comment section below on YouTube and see who y'all got picked to get the checkered flag in Kansas City. I'm excited to read those comments, and I'll be sure to read them in the next episode as well. So let's see who's going to get the checkered flag this week at Kansas Speedway as we go through the gears. Joining me now is my good buddy Tino Pattigno. You find him on Tubi. He told me on the before we started, his show airs on Tubi at 7:45 p.m. Eastern time. It's good to have you with us again, Tino. How you doing?
Oh, Wyatt, thanks for having me on. I'm doing even better now that I'm back on Through the Gears with you. I can see you here. Great setup you got going on. So great to be a part of this program here tonight. And I'm looking forward to a great racing action as well in Kansas. So that's going to be great. I'm excited to break it down with you. Excited to be on Tubi, like you mentioned, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio as well. You can find me there. But it's really been a great season thus far, and I'm excited to keep things going here with you in this one.
Well, from 1.5 miles to another, we were just at Texas Speedway with how chaotic it was. Now we look forward to some great racing in the Heartland, Kansas Speedway. I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. The books are already out. We have our odds on the bottom of our screen, scrolling like it's ESPN out here. And I'm excited to get into this. I feel like Kansas has been such a Toyota track. I know Kyle Larson won by 1/1000th of a second before in last year's race at Kansas Speedway. But before that, you got to remember Martin Truex Jr. was on his way to a complete domination of the field in that last stage. And Toyota, historically, they've been very dominant at this track. In fact, the best average finish is Denny Hamlin at 3.7 amongst active drivers here. The best one here is good old Kurt Busch, who's sitting right next to me here on the set, but with his one win and one attempt. But Denny Hamlin has pretty much owned this track, and if it's not him, you have Tyler Reddick who won here in the fall. You've had Bubba Wallace, who's won here previously before. Do you think the books are putting too much here on Kyle Larson and not giving the respect to the Toyotas this week?
I do believe so. I can definitely see that. Kyle Larson, I wouldn't say it's too much on Kyle Larson. He always opens up plus 450, 500 if we're lucky on any given Sunday, because that's sort of just who he is. He can go out and dominate any type of racetrack, and that's why, we call him one of the greatest drivers in motorsports right now. But I would say I did feel that way with guys like Denny Hamlin, who's plus 800, C. Bell's plus 1100. And I'm sure we'll get more into that. And you guys can see it on the bottom of the screen there as well. But I will say the Toyotas haven't been as strong as they really normally are at Kansas, at least these last couple of races. Last year specifically, I'm looking at a driver like Tyler Reddick, right? This is one driver who I normally would have on my card for this weekend. And spoiler alert, I may not. His two races at Kansas last year, 25th and 20th, that's not something I like to see. Yeah, and it's surprising. Same thing with Bubba Wallace, 17th and 17th. Like, for those two drivers, Denny Hamlin ran strong, very strong. One of the drivers that could have won in the spring, but in the fall, an 8th place finish. So, and that's his worst finish out of the last 6 races there at this track. So, although it's surprising to see the added value for Toyotas in this one, it does make sense when you look back at those races from last year. And those still have surprised me because it's not something that you expect with their dominance at this racetrack overall, like you mentioned.
I think it's surprising too because you have Chevrolet. I looked at the manufacturer prop, and Chevrolet leads it with plus 110. If you went into the market last season, I believe Toyota was like a minus number going into this race, if I'm not mistaken. They're like plus 180, which if they can find the speed like they used to have in 2022, 2023, then I might even go for that on one of my props. But in the meantime, like you're absolutely right. It was two Chevrolets that won this race last season with Kyle Larson, and then Ross Chastain, who, speaking of him, sitting at 20-1 and coming off a second place finish at Texas, which I called on last show. I mean, Ross Chastain and on mile and a half that is his strong suit with trackhouse racing and with Chevrolet's dominance on those style of tracks. That's a number I'm surprised to see after a strong performance last week at Texas Motor Speedway. Ross Chastain at 20-1.
Well, hey, and he won the last race at Kansas, right?
Exactly.
So that's another thing where we can potentially see some value there from the books. That's a great call out by you. And I think if anything, he did mention that Trackhouse is struggling when it comes to Saturdays and qualifying, and that's been apparent. You know, when he does have to drive these cars, it is from the back of the field. Now, one really big thing that's important to note, with his strong finish at Texas, like you mentioned, he will be qualifying later in the groups now on Saturday. So that means a higher chance for them to potentially go out and put it inside the top 10, top 15 would even be huge for that organization with how they've been running. So, that's something I'm really interested to see. I honestly, as much as I do like the value of 20-1 for Ross Chastain, I may personally wait until after practice qualifying, see if they do bring that raw speed, which they haven't been. Chastain, Trackhouse, I need to figure it out from that standpoint, as he's mentioned, but I definitely do like where that number is sitting at right now. I'd like it even more if he can get a good, strong qualifying position for the first time this season.
I think that's a good segue to talk about his teammate, Daniel Suarez, as well. I also called him to get a top 10 in Texas, obviously got it done. And you got to respect that too, because he also has the second place finish at Las Vegas. Overall, again, Trackhouse has been solid at these mile and a halves. Overall, as a team, if you don't count Shane Van Gisbergen into that category, both Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain have had the strongest run so far on the traditional mile and a halves. Do you feel like Daniel Suarez is on for another decent run, like another top 10 run going into this race here, Tino?
I can definitely see that from Suarez, and it is a little surprising to say because he's not necessarily a driver that comes to your mind at first, I would say, when you look at these mile and a half intermediate style racetracks. But the fact of the matter is, in this next gen era, he's ranking inside the top 10 in average running position at these racetracks. And Kansas specifically, he does have a 19th place average finish. So from that standpoint, okay, maybe not too much to go off of, but he does have a top 10, couple of top 15s, and in 3 out of the last 5-6 races at this track. So that's important to note. But if Ross Chastain can bring speed, I think the 99 will as well. And I think, not the 99 because, 99.
Yeah,
I was thinking 88. Didn't want to throw the 88 in there because I don't know if he'll be too fast in this one. But no, definitely Suarez can, I think, get a top 10 in this one, but it's just going to depend on their starting position. I think will be huge. If they can really lock down qualifying, because they haven't all season, then if he gets a good starting position, I think it just aids in his chances to get one top 10 finish there. And I like his odds to do so here as well.
Yeah, I will not throw the 88. Just public service announcement. We're not throwing Shane Van Gisbergen on this card. Wait till the road course episodes when we talk about him there. But, I mean, if you want to go crazy, he's 27-1 for a top 10 via FanDuel. So if things get crazy like they did at Texas when we have someone like John Hunter Nemechek 14-1 this week for a top 10, then be my guest. But don't put him for the win for God's sake. So we haven't talked about one manufacturer here so far, and that's the Fords. Ryan Blaney's the leading Ford at 7-1. Joey Logano, his teammates, at 20-1. Like Chris Buescher, who lost here by 1/1000th of a second, is 22-1. The guy I'm really paying attention to right now is Josh Berry, because he led very consistent laps at Texas Motor Speedway as well as Austin Cindric. But Josh Berry has the win in his pocket at Las Vegas, and that's what makes him very, very interesting to bet on if you go into the race like Kansas Speedway at 30-1. Is Josh Berry the most desirable forward on your card here, Tino, or are you looking at somebody else?
Great question. Great question. Well, I love the awareness of Josh Berry. That's the biggest thing. We talked about that after Vegas as well. That seeing him win the race that he did in that fashion, but also being strong at Homestead before a pit road issue. He was up there running inside the top 10. These mile and a halves consistently, that 21 car has shown up, and that's not something we're used to seeing. In terms of desirability in this one, it's that 12 car Ryan Blaney. It has to be. With what he was able to do at Texas, started 24th. Everyone talks about how hard it is to pass, which is true, but Blaney does it best. Better than any other driver in the field. We see him working different lines, sometimes lines that other drivers haven't even taken yet, and he makes it work for him, passing guys on the low side, passing guys on the high side. Well, one thing about Kansas, you have a lot of grooves there, and I think that'll benefit the 12 car a lot. When you look at his stats here at this racetrack, nothing really stands out. A 10.8 average finish. He is tied for 5th in that standpoint in this next gen era, but that's not what I'm really considering. I'm not considering his past Kansas stats. I'm looking at his speed at mile and a half so far this season. He's been the fastest driver. He's been the fastest driver on a long run, on a short run, primarily long run, I'll say, right? Because he starts in the back and always finds his way towards the front, and then something happens. Pit road issue, car blows up, tire comes off. Whatever the case may be, it's gone wrong for Ryan Blaney. This week, I think they can put it all together, especially after what I saw at Texas.
Besides we mentioned Kyle Larson earlier in the show. Besides Larson, we haven't discussed at all any of the Hendrick Motorsports racing cars of William Byron, Alex Bowman, who has an 8 points or a 7.2 average finish, tied with Kyle Larson, surprisingly. Almost won 2022 if it wasn't for Bubba Wallace, if I'm not mistaken as well. And then you also got Chase Elliott as well, who's all the way down at a 22-1 for a guy, and he was 18-1 last week as well. Tino, is any of those three guys like even considerable for this race, or are we like the guys that we've already talked about?
I do like the guys we've talked about, but I think with Hendrick being what they are, you have to consider all of them, right? Larson, we know, we don't even have to talk about him, but William Byron's up there, right? In terms of Texas speed, he had that. Then, he had the issue on pit road as well. That I think William Byron may win Texas if that doesn't happen. At least he finishes top 5. So that's one thing that's important to note. Chase Elliott, from that standpoint of being a 20-1 driver plus 100 for a top 10, is something that's super surprising to me. But on mile and a half this year, he's kind of let us down a few times. He's finished outside the top 10, and they haven't also done that great of a job qualifying. Now, I will say his past 3 races, past 4 even, with a 9th, 3rd, 6th, and 7th finish, do give me hope for that 9 car. Contrary to Blaney, I'm looking more so at Elliott's Kansas stats rather than his mile and a half this year. So from that standpoint, I could lean towards Elliott, but I love what you said about Alex Bowman. And he's a driver that always brings value because people kind of do think of him as the 4th Hendrick Motorsports car. Hey, at times this year, I'll put Chase Elliott in that category. Not based off talent or anything like that, but I'm talking about speed. I think speed-wise, that 9 car has been not as fast as the 48 or 24, and obviously the 5, but he is able to get those consistent finishes. So Alex Bowman, for me, is a driver I'm definitely looking out for. Definitely a top 10, maybe a top 5. Not sure if I can make it all the way to a winner, though, for him.
I always like throwing a little Alex Bowman into my into the props, especially with Bet Rivers. Always has kind of throws a lot of even odds at some of these consistent top 10 drivers when it comes to betting. Like they have Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott both at even odds for the top 10 prop, and I think that's amazing value when you go into a race weekend. I kind of agree though. Like I like a lot of the guys we've already talked about today. If I'm gonna bet a Hendrick guy, you might as well go favorite with Kyle Larson. But if you want to get the value picks, and like we've talked Ross Chastain, who's defending winner from the fall. We've talked Tyler Reddick, we've talked Denny Hamlin, who are plus 800 odds, and a much better like consistency at this track in races past. We've talked. Again, even Alex Bowman with how good he ran at Homestead Miami Speedway. Don't forget about that run he had. Yep. He could, if things go well for the 48 team, they could have a solid day with how fast Chevrolet's been here recently as well. So, and then again, I have to mention Josh Berry with the Las Vegas win and running well at Texas. Those all are great options versus I had Byron on my ticket last year or last week at Texas because of his former win in 23. But Texas, again, it's just a whole nother beast when it comes to the mile and a halves. That's why Kansas is just, you have to go with the consistency of some of these drivers that they've shown, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to seeing who we're going to have on our full ticket, which we're going to get to right now. So, Tino, who do you got going for your ticket overall? Count them out, the 4 on your ticket.
Perfect. So this is always my favorite part of the show, giving out winners. And I think Kyle Larson is the first one, right? That's not any surprise. Let's get that out of the way. I don't care if he's the favorite, plus 400. I probably wouldn't touch him now. The lowest I can see him is plus 300, plus 350. So I'd rather wait, see if the odds will change after qualifying for him. But this is just his type of racetrack. He's another driver that's able to find speed when there may not be any, or at least over a long run, just be able to get the most out of his car. And just, I could see this being, if it's not a close, exciting race, it's a Larson domination race. So he's first up. Next, Ryan Blaney for me. I have to go with Ryan Blaney plus 700 right now. Another one I would wait on. He's a driver where we can see start outside the top 10 normally, right? Started 24th at Texas, but that's not why that, he's a driver that I always feel like I can rely on if that happens, right? I don't look at the qualifying position for Ryan Blaney. For someone else, I may have, if they're starting outside the top 10, may not take them. For Ryan Blaney, knowing he always brings long run speed, he's on my card. Next up, Chris Buescher. I mean, I have to have Chris Buescher on my card. You have to imagine, with every promo for Kansas, seeing himself finish in second, in the closest finish in NASCAR history, that he's going to want it just that much more in this one. He opened up at 40-1 to win this race this weekend. Now at 25-1, that 40-1 had to have been, midnight on a Tuesday when they opened the odds, because I missed it. I anyone that got that, awesome for you, because I'm taking them 22-1 BetMGM, DraftKings, 25 on Bet Rivers. Love the value for Buescher. The stats don't necessarily point to him, in a beneficial way in terms of really trying to pull stuff out of, but the 11th place finish in the fall, the 2nd place finish in the spring, and seeing how fast that car was at Texas last weekend. He could have won at Texas had they not have the tire go down. That bodes well going to another intermediate style racetrack like Kansas is. And I could go a lot of different directions with my next pick. I think, Denny Hamlin's definitely a guy to look out for. I'm off of Tyler Reddick for this weekend. I'll say that. I do think he'll bring speed, but he hasn't the last couple of times. But what I will say is this. For my 4th pick, I'm going to win the race at Kansas, Kyle Busch.
Ooh.
Yep. Right now, juicy 33-1 odds. You can get him at 30-1 on BetMGM. I would stay around there, but that's Bet Rivers, BetMGM. DraftKings has him at 22-1 as well. So I definitely shop around if you guys can. But for Kyle Busch, look, his last 3 races at this track, he finished in 7th in 2023, 8th the first race here last year, in which, if we remember, I think you alluded to it earlier on the show, if there's no caution, Kyle Busch wins this race. Kyle Busch wins this race, no caution. And then, not only that, we come back for the spring, or for the fall rather. Ross Chastain won that one, but he was battling Kyle Busch. It got for the lead. And if it wasn't for Kyle Busch spinning out on his own, finishing in 19th because of that, he's at least finishing in 2nd. So to me, I really love the momentum Kyle Busch has right now. It may not look like much on paper because his finishes aren't there, but seeing the speed they're bringing to the racetrack after an off week, like we had a couple weeks ago, if you guys remember, after an off week, Austin Dillon won at Richmond. I know we're a couple weeks past that, but I think they made the adjustments to give him speed to have a chance. 33-1 for Busch. I'll take that.
Man, you're trying to sell me on that. You're trying to sell me real hard on it.
Come on.
But
on my side.
Oh man, I can't. I will go one side with here, and that is Kyle Larson. We have to take him at this track with how great he's been at Kansas Speedway in the past, specifically in the spring race. He seems like he's always in the mix to win the spring race, regardless of what happens. And I think throwing 3 units on Kyle Larson right now at 4-1, I really like you said, like it. I feel like Larson's going to compete for the pole. He's competed for the pole here before, so I really think 4-1 might be the best we can get with Kyle Larson right now. So I kind of defer there, but I don't hate waiting and seeing what happens in practice qualifying, seeing where he's going to start, and seeing if that number moves any at all this during those sessions. So give me Larson at 4-1 with about 3 units on him. And I gotta go with the guy that just won here in the fall, Ross Chastain. I gotta keep riding that wave because second place. Oh my goodness, I was so heartbroken with Joey Logano staying in front and getting the win at Texas Speedway. Chastain at 25-1 odds. Then he has 20-1 odds here, and for a track he just won at. I think that's insane that he's not in the teens for the odds. So plus 2,000 for him at 2 units there. The third guy is going to be Denny Hamlin. He's been Mr. Automatic here at 3.7. He should have 2 wins here if it wasn't for Chris Buescher with another flat tire in the fall in 2023, I believe, in 2023. And I feel like he's going to be the Toyota to beat on top of that. So if you're going to have the Toyota to beat, you might as well put him for the race winner as well. And my fourth guy, I'm going for win number 2 again because of his great performance before having issues and crashing out of Texas. Give me Josh Berry at 30-1. Just put a unit on him and ride that thing and see where it goes. Because if you catch the Josh Berry train now before practice qualifying, because I feel like that number is going to go up. It's not going to go lower than that. Josh Berry has been qualifying great with the Wood Brothers Racing, with the Penske power underneath that 21 Motorcraft Ford. Get that 30-1 now on Josh Berry and see where it will take you this weekend. And we're going to move into our prop bet section of this episode. Tino, I'll bat it to you again. Who you got for your prop bets?
Sweet. So yeah, no, loved all those picks there. Definitely agree. And I think we're on a good run right now to bring it to a driver we haven't mentioned yet. We talked about the Toyotas, right? We talked about those JGR guys, but to go a little bit more in depth in the top 10 market is where I have my props right now. I'd like to see if you have anything, top 5, top 3, or any other matchups or anything like that towards the end, and what your props are. But for right now, I'm in the top 10 market. I'm looking at Ty Gibbs, and I like him at plus 110 for a top 10 finish there. Showed a lot of speed at Texas, didn't get the finishing result they deserved there. He deserved a top 10 finish outside there. And this is a driver where ran really well here at Kansas. And it's just like they need to put it all together. Finish 5th in the second Kansas race in the fall there. So that's really important to me when it comes to him. And they do have momentum on their side, although they haven't had the finishing results maybe people would like, right? Top 10s, everything like that, maybe top 5s. He's capable of that. They do have more speed that they're bringing to the racetrack. And I think that's important to note and see it when he does bring value, because he gets one top 10 this weekend. Next week, the line, or, whenever we race again on a intermediate style racetrack, that number will be below the line. So Ty Gibbs top 10 plus 110. Alex Bowman, you talked about him. That's a plus 100 right now. Love that value there for him, although he has come up in spots where he hasn't delivered that for me. So I'd say be aware. But I do like his chances here on this type of racetrack. Then for a higher value one, Daniel Suarez at plus 300. If Chastain brings the speed, I think Suarez can get it done like we talked about before. His average running position on these mile and a halves are amongst Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Christopher Bell. Like, he's in a top 10 group for running there. If he can finish, that's where we're going to get our magic and hit that plus 300. But those are the 3 guys I've sort of picked out right now for my props. Interested to see what you got for this one.
2 of 3 are on my list too. Let me tell
Nice.
you,
There we
look at
go.
that. I mean, Bowman, I will say this. Bowman has hit for me twice this year in
Nice.
succession. And I haven't returned to the fold to put Bowman in the top 10 in a long time. And he hasn't been getting the top 10s as of late. This track screams that he's going to get a top 10. His average finish is in the top 10 as well. Give me Alex Bowman for the top 10. Also, even on off of Bet Rivers. And give me his teammate Chase Elliott as well. Also, even odds, like I said earlier, off Bet Rivers. And I'd put 3 units on that just because of how much more consistent Chase Elliott has tended to be over the last year. I think Elliott has a top 10 in him, and it's pretty fair to say that with how great he's been at how consistent he's been at the mile and a halves. And then I got Daniel Suarez as well. I have him at plus 350 via
Oh, there you
FanDuel.
go.
So
Nice.
a little better odds. Also highlight the Ty Gibbs for your picks is plus 120 on Bet Rivers as well. So
Right.
better value for all those. Suarez, I'd put maybe max a unit and a half, just like I did last week. In fact, Suarez's top 10 odd is a whole plus 130 better than it was last week. It was plus 220 at Texas, where we hit plus 350 to go 2 in a row with Daniel Suarez, mile and a half. I think that's a no-brainer to go with Daniel Suarez once again. And this time I'm not going to mess him for a top 5. I'm going Chastain, hitting the top 5 at 4-1 odds. Might as well, because it's one of his best racetracks that we go to for the number 1 crew in Trackhouse. 4-1 odds for a top 5 on top of his 20-1 could be a good sandwich to make for your profits this weekend. I'm excited to see what happens with all 4 of those props. And of course, be sure to check in to my Twitter for anything else from practice and qualifying after those sessions are completed as well. Moving on and looking into the Truck Series race this weekend, 1 of 2 this year. We have Corey Heim at the top of the list at plus 150, coming off his win, really dominant win at Texas Motor Speedway. I believe he's a winner. He came really close to winning at Kansas a couple of times, but now without Christian X in the field, he does have William Byron and Carson Hocevar that he'll have to battle in this one. Hocevar looked real fast at Texas as well. If it weren't for his problems with the battery and the alternator not charging any of those batteries. Tino, what are you thinking when you look at the Truck Series race this week?
Well, I'm looking at the Cup drivers in the Truck Series field. That's the biggest thing that stands out to me. William Byron in that 07 is going to be special. Carson Hocevar in the 7, both under Spire Motorsports. But hey, even Corey Heim, yes, you heard that right. Corey Heim will be racing in the Cup Series. So that's a Cup guy in the truck equipment. And I think it has to be any of those 3 guys. I really am having a hard time finding a winner that wouldn't be those 3. Corey Heim's always been dominant in the Truck Series, moves up, to the Xfinity Series there and having some Cup action as well. Now to see him, come back and race some. Oh, Brandon Jones also in it, Xfinity driver. So I figured I'd shout him out as well. But that's really where I'm looking at. With a racetrack like Kansas, I believe we'll see some great racing action. I know Lane Riggs have been having a great season. Raja Caruth could be someone to look out for. But aside from those guys, I feel like the Cup drivers will step into this one and have a strong run for sure.
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at this, and Corey Heim's going to be tough at pretty much 1.5 to 1. It's plus 150 for him to win outright, and he seems so inevitable when it comes to some of these races. Byron's so close, plus 240, but the last time he ran in the Truck Series wasn't too fast. I think that those odds are kind of a little bit cranked for him at plus 240. I think it should be more like a 5 or 6 because of kind of where Carson Hocevar is. Just give me Corey Heim. I'm not going to miss this train one more time. I should have hit on him at Martinsville. I'm going to take his plus 150 odds to win and I'll just put 3 units on it. I do $10 for each unit. So bet responsibly going into any of these races, any of these events throughout the season. But Corey Heim plus 150 at 3 units. So that'll do it for this episode of Through the Gears. Tino, I'm always happy to have you on the show, especially for a track just as exciting as Kansas Speedway. It matches the energy that you bring to the show as a guest. Tino, thank you again for being on. And where can the people follow you and everything you do?
Well, I appreciate that. It's always great joining you here, Wyatt. I'm always tuned in to everything you got going on, from the IndyCar side of things to NASCAR betting and everything in between. It's been great to follow along, your social media and your journey as well this season. But people can find me at Tino Pattigno. You can see it right over there. So just follow me there all across all social media channels. I'm also on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90, which you can tune in on Tubi, as we talked about. Super cool to be on TV from there, talking best bets as well. So things we talked about here, you can hear me again for a more concise version. See me on TV there. A couple other shows I'll be doing this weekend as well. But for all of that info and any post practice and qualifying knowledge that I have for you guys, just follow me at Tino Pattigno. And it's always great to be on with you, Wyatt, and I appreciate you guys having me here. And I'm looking forward to Kansas. That's the biggest thing. Getting to Kansas is going to be so awesome. It's one of the best tracks on the schedule, but it's going to be even better when we win.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see if when. Hopefully when our bets win at the Heartland and Kansas Speedway. I'm at Wyatt W Racing, and I'm also excited to see you on Tubi as well, my good friend. Wyatt W Racing on Twitter, Wyatt_GameTime_Watson on Instagram. Check out all the stuff from Barber last week where I was out there covering IndyCar. Make sure to check out the Indy GP as well on the IndyCar side of things as well. While I'm plugging that, be sure to check out the Pit Straight on Front Stretch Podcast Network, where I hosted with Tom Blackburn and talked about everything from Barber and the Miami GP or the Miami Grand Prix for Formula One. Be sure to also check out Happy Hour with Dalton Hopkins, Trey Lyle, and Michael Massey. Also, be sure to check out Brian Nolan on Bringing the Heat. My good buddy there always has good content for that podcast, so be sure to check that out as well. And I want to thank you again for joining us for Through the Gears each and every week, where we go over all of our best bets. Now, we were a little bit even last week, which even's better than negative, but you know what? It's a brand new week. We're going into the best track on the NASCAR schedule, in my humble opinion, Kansas Speedway, where I'm hoping to make some money in the Heartland.
Steven Stump of FrontStretch.com here. Come back for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.